presenting my presentation today on Ajax. So, the agenda of today's presentation would be that we would go start with what is Ajax, look at a communication model in a typical web application and its problems, and compare synchronous and asynchronous communication, look at a real-time example, take up a demo and its code, and then we have finally the conclusion. So what happens in a typical web application is that a particular request, a URL request, is being sent from the browser to the server, and then the browser waits for the response from the server. Now, during this wait time, the users cannot really perform any operation while waiting for the response. And this type of communication is called as a synchronous request. And it is analogous to what happens when you call a help desk for a request. You wait for about 30 minutes just holding the request, and you're not able to perform any other operation, after which you receive a response. On the other hand, what happens in an asynchronous communication is that the user can continue to use the application while the client program requests the data from the server, and the user operation is not really interrupted. So how Ajax works essentially is that it asynchronously communicates with the web server to fetch more data without a full page request. So therefore, Ajax supports both asynchronous communication as well as provides a rich user interface. Now let's look at a real-time example for this, which is basically the Google Maps, where when you try to look deeper into one particular location, only that part of the page is being refreshed and the entire page is not being refreshed. Another example of this would be the JSF Ajax app, where I try to look up a particular email ID, and then I see that I get instantaneous response from the server without a page, the entire page being refreshed. So what happens in the background is that when I look at the network and see the type of object which is being involved here, I have the XHR object. So XHR is basically the XML HTTP request object that actually performs the asynchronous interaction with the server. It is a JavaScript object that in the background performs the asynchronous interaction. Now let's look at the code for this particular simple application. So there are three important things that you need to keep in mind. First is that you have to identify the component that you want to Ajaxify. Any component that deals with user interaction can be Ajaxified, and here we have Ajaxified the input text component. And then we have the event tag that takes up any of the document object model events, like the key up and the click. And remember, this is different from the JavaScript events. Next, we have the execute, which takes up the ID of the component whose data you want to send to the server. And then we have the render that takes up the ID of the component where you want to see the results from the server. And then the business logic of the operation that you want to perform goes into the get method of this particular model. So this is a simple implementation of Ajax with JavaScript. Another ways of doing it would be through what is known as through prime faces as well as through jQuery. So that's about my presentation today, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.